President Trump won the night with a far better than average State of the Union address that boldly declared America will never be a socialist country. Poor Bernie Sanders sulking in the corner. Of course, the mainstream media couldn't tolerate that, so they unleashed a torrent of dishonest fact checks. We will fact check the fact checkers. Then a better than average Democrat response as well. We will discuss why, but ultimately it still fell flat. Huzzah, hooray, the Republic fights another day. I'm Michael Knowles, and this is The Michael Knowles Show. A good night for President Trump, a good night for the Republican Party, and a very good night for America. We covered the State of the Union last night here for it felt like about 18 or 27 hours. So we won't go through point by point on the State of the Union. What I want to focus on is the reaction to the State of the Union. That's in the mainstream media, that's among the Democrat Party. That, I think, is probably more interesting than the speech itself. But first, we have got to make a little money, honey, and we can do it with 1-800-Flowers. By now, most of us are racking our brains what to give our little honeys for Valentine's Day. With 1-800-Flowers.com, it's not that complicated. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are a no-brainer. Right now, when you order early, 1-800-Flowers has amazing deals on vibrant and romantic rose bouquets, arrangements, and more, just starting at $29.99. I gave one of these to sweet little Elisa last night, and she loved it. I said, listen, I know I've been covering the State of the Union for 2 years now. You know, you haven't seen me in months. But anyway, here are these flowers. She loved them. They're really, really nice. They come beautifully packaged, so the flowers don't get damaged. They look really nice. The bouquet prices will be going up soon, so take advantage today. Pick your delivery date, let 1-800-Flowers handle the rest. When it comes to Valentine's, I do not settle for anything less than my rose authority, 1-800-Flowers.com. To order Valentine's bouquets, arrangements, and more at starting at $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code COFEFE, C-O-V-F-E-F-E. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, promo code COFEFE, C-O-V-F-E-F-E. Before we get to the reaction, let's just start with one of the best lines of the entire night, maybe the most important line of the night, which has prompted probably the most vocal reaction.
Here in the United States, we are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country. America was founded on liberty and independence, and not coercion, domination, and control. We are born free, and we will stay free.
So you can see here Bernie Sanders looking so upset,
Tonight,
so frustrated.
We renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
Comrade Bernie slinking down even further in his chair. He's so very upset. Now you'll notice here, one of the more interesting things about the State of the Union is you look at who's clapping, who's not clapping, who's standing, who won't stand. Bernie sinking down into his chair. Even Nancy Pelosi clapped at that line. America will never be a socialist country. She didn't stand and clap, but she did clap. Now, obviously, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, those Bolsheviks currently in our government, they would not clap or stand, but Nancy did. And this is important. This is a good sign. The line is very important because I actually do fear encroaching socialism in America. I do fear it. You now have the majority of millennials identify as socialist. It's just creeping along, as it often does, and a little confidence goes a long way. The Democrats always do this. They make bold declarations, often crazy-sounding declarations, and then they say them often enough, and then they get repeated by the mainstream media, and then they start to sink in, and this is how they took over the culture. Republicans should be able to do that too. We should make these bold declarations. Now, what if America one day becomes a socialist country? Well, it won't happen on my watch. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen on my watch. There's something very Churchillian about this strategy. This is what Winston Churchill did during the Second World War. During the darkest hours of that war, he said, "This Future generations will look on us and say, this was their finest hour. We shall go on. We shall fight in the beaches and in the streets. We shall never surrender. We'll never surrender. And it was just this total defiance. And it was that sort of defiance that President Trump made last night. Oh, some socialists won elections. Oh, the Democratic Party is veering towards socialism. Non-socialist Democrats can't run in the 2020 Democrat primary. Who cares? America will never be a socialist country. And he linked this to Venezuela. This is very important as well. You know, one thing he did is that he came out and declared the winner of the Venezuelan election that happened a week or two ago. He declared that Juan Guaido is the legitimate president of Venezuela over the socialist Nicolas Maduro. I do love that the U.S. can do that. I do love that during our State of the Union, we can just declare presidents of other countries. I'm not being facetious either. We should. That country has fallen to nothing. Nicolas Maduro is a ridiculous dictator who's destroyed that country after the destruction of Hugo Chavez. Great. We should kick him out. We should feel nothing wrong about that. I assume he won the election legitimately, even if he didn't. I'm sorry, I assume that Guaido won the election legitimately, but even if he didn't, I love that the U.S. can go in there and say, we're going to stop that misery. No more misery. Get out, Maduro. Too bad. Try again next time. That's really nice. And the connection to Venezuela is very important. Venezuela had one of the best economies in the world. In 1950, sometime during the 50s, it was the fourth strongest economy in the world. It's an oil-rich nation. It was a very wealthy nation. And then it was, even in recent memory, it was doing very well until socialism crept in and destroyed it. Within our lifetimes, we've seen socialism wreck that country. And what President Trump is saying is that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like all of the incoming socialists, like Bernie Sanders, what they want to do is follow in the footsteps of Venezuela. Now, what they say is, no, we don't want that. We want to follow the Nordic countries, like Denmark. Denmark explicitly says we are not a socialist country. Actually, all of those Scandinavian Nordic countries, they did experiment with socialism, and it damaged their economy, and they have since undone a lot of those socialist reforms. They've reinstituted a lot of capitalist reforms, and their economies have boomed as a result of that. So it's totally disingenuous. A lot of those countries have freer economies than the United States. It's totally disingenuous when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or whoever says, no, we're just going to be like those nice white countries up north, because there is an underlying racial message here, which is, oh, no, not like those scary countries with mixed ethnic populations. No, just those places that are 100% ethnically homogenous. No, like that's the good socialism. It's not even socialism. And it's increasingly less like socialism. What they're proposing is Venezuela. Even this Medicare for All plan, this goes so far beyond what you see in the Nordic countries or what you see in the United Kingdom, where at least there still exists private health insurance very often. Whereas here, Kamala Harris, probably the leading Democrat presidential candidate, is saying we need to abolish private insurance, abolish it totally. Government runs everything. Other Democrats coming and backing her up on that. The future that these people see looks like Venezuela. And President Trump pointed that out. I think it was a big win. The other reason America will never be a socialist country is because of the incompetent socialist politicians. Bernie Sanders never held a job in his entire life until he got himself elected and went on the public dole. He had his honeymoon in the Soviet Union, sang shirtless with Soviets, talk about colluding with the Russians. But even better than him, we learned last night that in 1986, Elizabeth Warren claimed Native American ancestry when she was filing with the Texas bar. Now, why is this important? This is important because she has previously said, oh, I didn't really do that. No, I didn't really claim ancestry. It was a mistake by Harvard. It was a bureaucratic error. I never used it to my professional advantage. No, it's just a silly misunderstanding. Now we have her signature right on the paper. She claimed in her own handwriting American Indian ancestry, not Harvard, not an administrator, but her. Look, we all know that she's done this. Very few conservatives ever believed her ridiculous line about not knowing or not being aware and never using it to her advantage. But last week, It has since been reported. Elizabeth Warren privately apologized to Cherokee Chief Bill John Baker. Privately, not publicly. Now, it later became public when this was reported. But she was sorry. She apologized for, quote, for furthering confusion about tribal citizenship, end quote, for not being more mindful about this decades ago. So the question is, why did Elizabeth Warren apologize last week? What has changed? She launched her presidential campaign pretending still to be Native American because she's 1/1024th Native American, maybe. So what has changed? Well, we figured it out last night. The Washington Post reported that Liz Warren had filed with the Texas State Bar in 1986 as an American Indian. So that comes out last night. And yet a week ago, she apologizes privately. Why would that happen? It seems to me that the Washington Post tipped her off. What else could it be? When she then apologized, and this was reported by the Washington Post when this story came out, and what did she apologize for? Quote, for furthering confusion about tribal citizenship, quote, and for not being more mindful about this. She used the same language that she used on the private conversation with Baker last week. So the corruption of all of this gets even more fetid. It gets even more dank, which is that the Washington Post finds this out. They've been helping to cover for Liz Warren for a long time. They find out that she actually did commit this fraud, obviously intentionally. She did it for a very long time. She did it to further her career. So what do? They tip off Liz Warren, almost certainly. So then she can get ahead of the story, apologize to the Cherokee Nation. Then a few days later, the Washington Post reports it. Really corrupt. And the Washington Post is so transparent about all this. And this is the other reason why America will not become a socialist country, is because the media cheering it on are so transparent. Look, President Trump gave a very good speech last night. He gave probably a B-plus speech, which for a State of the Union address is very, very good. The State of the Union addresses are awful. They're so boring. They're so largely pointless, although they can have some shining moments. And he did a very good job. So the media are furious. Because the Democrat, Stacey Abrams, we'll get to her in a minute, she also did a pretty good job, but it just fell flat by virtue of the reaction always falls flat, and she wasn't that great. Trump did a much better job. So the media were furious, and they instantly started issuing fact checks. But the fact checks are not fact checks. They are opinion columns. They're leftist opinion columns that dishonestly call themselves fact checks. We'll get to all of those in a second, but first, let's make a little money, honey, with indulgences. Valentine's Day is approaching. Now, I think it makes perfect sense, obviously, as the Catholic at the Daily Wire, I should sell indulgences. It's a very good product. What are you going to do for Valentine's Day? It's an age-old dilemma. If you go to your local flower shop, the day of, you're going to spend $1 zillion, and maybe, who knows, if you can control the quality. Sometimes, the flowers don't even last that long. For chocolates, you don't want to get fat. You don't. You say, you eat two, you say, I can't eat those, then you throw them out. This year, try something original and indulgent for Valentine's Day. Something that rings the bell. Indulgences.store, not .com, .store, has partnered with Halo Healthy Tribes to create an indulgent line of hot beverage mixes. Just add water for some of the most sumptuous mugs of hot cocoa and other flavors. Mazaru matcha, ooh, yogi goji, hubba hubba, pink velvet, whole latte lovin'. I gotta stop. I'm getting too hot over here. 100% natural, no added sugar, loaded with MCT oil, just terrific stuff. These indulgent beverages are available in Valentine's gift packages starting as low as $39, but step up. Indulge her with all 6 flavors. Save even more. Enroll her in the subscription program to get 12 additional flavors over the year. Act now, get ahead of the Valentine's Crunch. There's a special deal for my listeners. Enter COVFEFE, C-O-V-F-E-F-E at checkout. Save 10%. Act quickly. Save money. Get Valentine's Day covered with a gift she'll appreciate that lasts for months. Indulgences.store, promo COVFEFE, C-O-V-F-E-F-E, 10% savings. Remember, indulgences.store, not .com, indulgences.store. Check it out. Okay, these fact checks, which are not fact checks, they're leftist opinion columns. The best one, my favorite one of the whole night, came from NPR. So NPR, right after this speech, issues this fact check. They say, quote, fact check. President Trump praised the record number of women in Congress, but that's almost entirely because of Democrats, not Trump's party. Fact check. Boom. Mic drop. How is that a fact check? What is the fact First of all, they're talking about Trump's praising the women in Congress. Praise is not something that can be fact-checked. He did praise them. They're not saying he didn't praise them. You can't. So, okay. Second, the record number of women in Congress is a fact. And they don't dispute that fact. And then the but in their sentence is amazing because it's totally unrelated to the first part of it. Doesn't change anything about the number of women in Congress. Doesn't change anything about Donald Trump's praise of them. I don't think Donald Trump is confused about where a lot of those women came from. I don't think he thinks they're all Republicans. So it's just, the language is so amazing. Fact check. President Trump praised the record number of women in Congress, but that's almost entirely because of Democrats. It's as if to say, President Trump praised the record number of women in Congress, but you should still hate him because he's a huge jerk and I hate him. That was the fact check. NPR. Which we're all paying for, by the way. We're paying for that fact check. Politico had a great one. Politico. State of the Union fact check. Trump said, quote, 1 in 3 women is sexually assaulted on the long journey north. That's partly true. Here's the full story. Okay, do you know why this? So President Trump said 1 in 3 women are raped or sexually assaulted on the journey across that border. Now, the reason that they say it's only partially true is because the real number, according to a Doctors Without Borders study, shows that it's only 31%. Oh, they got him now. President Trump, oh, that liar. President Trump said, that liar said that 33% of women are raped and sexually assaulted on the journey north. Really, it's only 31. Boom, fact check. Fact check, Donald. Fake news. Alternative facts. By the way, what's funny about this, they're citing this one Doctors Without Borders study. There are other studies that show that the number is much, much higher. Between 60 and 80% of women are raped and sexually assaulted. That's according to Amnesty International. That's according to a Fusion survey, both of which were reported in the Huffington Post, a left-wing outlet. So actually, President Trump probably could have used those numbers. It would have been just fine. But how disingenuous, how dishonest. He said it was 1 in 3. Liar. It was 31%. They're just trying to nip at anything that he says. And even if he doesn't lie, even if he doesn't say something that's even slightly untrue, they'll just pretend that it's untrue. If I say 1 in 3, first of all, just to use the phrase 1 in 3 is to say I'm not using a precise percentage right now. If let's say the number were 35%, he also probably would have said 1 in 3. It's just easier to say, it sounds better, it's better rhetoric. If that number had said 35%, I bet the President Trump would have said 1 in 3 women are raped or sexually assaulted crossing that border. But of course, then in that case, Politico would not have fact-checked it because it would have been even more in the favor of President Trump's argument. CBS, I think, possibly has the most egregious of the fact checks. Here is theirs. They say, President Trump claimed nearly 5 million people have been lifted off of food stamps. But then, what CBS points out is that as of last September, the number of people off of food stamps since the beginning of Trump's presidency was only 4.1 million. Now, of course, that was 5 months ago, and the number keeps increasing. But they say, actually, this is the best part, because they include this in their fact check. Quote, data for the fourth quarter of 2018 has not yet been published, and that number had already been trending downward before Mr. Trump took office. So, okay, so they're saying the number is trending downward, so the number of people off of food stamps is trending upward. You're saying 5 months ago it was 4.1 million. So now, who knows what that number is? It's probably significantly higher. You might say it's nearly 5 million. And then the kicker, they're doing the same fact check thing that NPR did. They're saying, and that number had already been trending downward before Mr. Trump. Oh, yeah, he didn't say that it wasn't. When did President Trump ever say that the number wasn't trending downward or that it was trending upward? When, I never heard him say. They're just, yeah, okay, well, President Trump's right, and millions and millions of people are off of food stamps, but I hate him, and he's a big meanie, and I hate him. So here is the wildest one. This was in the CBS did a whole long list of these. This is the wildest part of the fact check. Donald Trump, during the State of the Union, talked about that awful New York abortion law, read infanticide law, the law that allows you to kill a baby as it is being born. 1 second before birth, you can kill it. Not as bad as Virginia, where apparently you can kill the baby 6 hours after it's been born, at least. But he mentions this, and the CBS fact check tells you everything you need to know.
Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world.
By the way, if you're watching that clip, could Chuck Schumer possibly look more maniacal if he tried? I think when people read the Bible and they're creating images in their mind for what Moloch looks like, Moloch almost looks like Chuck Schumer. Like it's very hard to visualize, it's hard to create in our mind's eye something as sinister looking as Chuck Schumer there, but look, they're crouching. Yes, he's got his fingers on it. He's like Ugolino. He's just waiting to eat his children. Really, really creepy. Someone should give him a little media training. It's amazing for a man who's lived on television for the last 40 years. He really doesn't know how to look great on. It's between this and the American Gothic meme that he helped to create a few months ago. He really not looking great. But what did the fact check say? Here's the fact check. Now, with all of the other fact checks, it says fact check, true or false, or it says partially true or partially, whatever. This one, it doesn't say true and it doesn't say false. It says this: facts. New York's Reproductive Health Act guarantees a woman's right to abortion through 24 weeks of pregnancy. After that, an abortion is only allowed if a doctor decides the fetus is not viable or to protect the patient's life or health. Now, of course, what this really means, and they made it very clear in the New York law, is that if a patient's mental health will be affected by having the baby, you can kill it at any point. But that's a total cop-out. I say, yeah, I'll be really sad if I have a kid. Kill it. Then you can just kill it immediately. Or the doctor says it's non-viable. What that means is if the baby has some deformity, if it's not born like the perfect little designer baby that its perverted parents want, or that the perverted doctor want, then they can kill it at any given moment. The way we know this is true is that the New York abortion law changed the New York Penal Code such that before, if you killed a woman who was 24 weeks pregnant or later, you would be charged with double homicide because you killed the woman and you killed the baby. Now, they took that out of the New York penal law. If you kill a pregnant woman who is giving birth, you're only charged with killing one person. That's how so we know that they're trying their best to twist it. They know they can't quite. So they don't even say true or false. They just issue an endorsement of the New York law. They just say, well, here's the best argument we can give for the New York law. Totally transparent. There are even subtler claims, and we have to get to Stacey Abrams' response. But first, let's make a little money, honey, with Ring. Ring's mission is to make neighborhoods safer. You might already know about their smart video doorbells and cameras that protect millions of people everywhere. Ring helps you stay connected to your home anywhere in the world. You know, we need to make sure that we have border security at our homes. We need to make sure because walls work and there are other highly technologically advanced ways of securing your home. We should use all of them. Ring is the best, most technologically advanced way to do it. If there's a package delivery, or there's a surprise visitor, you will get an alert. You'll be able to see, hear, and speak to them all from your phone, thanks to the HD video and two-way audio features on Ring devices. You could be in your bedroom, you could be on a beach in Boca, you could be at work, it doesn't matter. I love Ring. Ring makes me feel safer. I love having it myself. I like it so much, actually, that I've given it to friends of mine. When a friend of mine buys a new home, I give them Ring. One, because it's super cool and hip and like all the cool young guys have them, but it also really, really works. And so if I can give them a relatively inexpensive gift to help protect them, it gives me a little peace of mind, it gives them peace of mind. As a listener, you have a special offer on a Ring starter kit available right now. With a video doorbell and motion-activated floodlight cam, the starter kit has everything you need to start building a ring of security around your home. Just go to ring.com/Knowles, Knowles, ring.com/Knowles. So there are even subtler claims that they make in these fact checks. Here is one. The claim that President Trump made, this is from President Trump's State of the Union. It says, unemployment has reached the lowest rate in half a century. Okay, true. They're saying, fact check, this is inaccurate now, but it was true at one point. The unemployment rate dropped to 3.7% in September, the lowest rate since December 1969. But apparently since then, it has ticked up a couple tenths of a percentage point. And so they're saying, yeah, this isn't true now. But that fact check actually is false. That is a lie. President Trump said, quote, unemployment has reached the lowest rate in half a century. That remains true today. Now, obviously, the unemployment rate is going to fluctuate. It's going to tick up a little bit. It's going to tick down a little bit. It's not going to stay exactly the same at all times. What he is saying is that the unemployment rate has reached the lowest point in half of a century during my tenure. And not just during my tenure, in the last year, which is what I am reporting to you, Congress. It's what I am reporting to you, the American people. Within the last year, in this update, unemployment has reached the lowest rate in half a century. That is 100% true. It's not inaccurate now. It's not partially true. It's not whatever the Democrats at the mainstream media want to pretend that it is, just to take away the achievements of this presidency. It is just true. The fact checkers are not true. They're liars. Either they're extraordinarily stupid, either they don't understand how language works at all. You know, journalists, people who likely majored in English or literature or journalism, either they have no idea how the English language works or they're liars. Which one do you think? It's obviously liars. We have to get to the Democrat response. I was so excited. Stacey Abrams was giving the response. Who is Stacey Abrams, you ask? Yeah, I don't really know either. Stacey Abrams was not even the majority leader of the Georgia House of Representatives. She was the minority leader of the Georgia House of Representatives. And that's it. That's who she... Now, why on earth would the Democrats choose her? The National Democrat Party, going up against Donald Trump, the President of the United States. Why would they choose her to be the response to the State of the Union? One, because it's a thankless job that always fails, so a lot of bigger names don't want it. Two, she's currently doing nothing. She lost that race for Georgia governor, and she refused to concede it, but now she's got a lot of free time. Okay. The other reason is because the Democrats are doubling down on identity politics. Stacey Abrams made this a huge point of her campaign. Stacey Abrams made her whole campaign about racism, disenfranchisement. They're attacking me because I'm a black woman. That's what her whole cynical, ridiculous campaign was about. And she lost, thankfully, she lost. She finally conceded. They stopped. The Democrats started to get carpal tunnel writing all those fraudulent ballots out, so they finally gave up. They didn't want to hurt their wrists anymore. And the Democrats choose her to give this response because they're just as bigoted as Stacey Abrams is. They're just as cynical as Stacey Abrams is. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished. This woman has accomplished basically nothing in her entire life, and yet they choose her over far more qualified Democrats because of the color of her skin and because of her sex. That's what it's, and because she can run the intersectional identity politics campaign. I'm actually going to be speaking on this topic tonight at UCLA. Despite my losing my voice, despite the sickness, the difficulties, I am going to persevere because we're going to do this speech tonight on the bigotry of the left. Specifically, how the way to reduce bigotry is to increase prejudice. A topic that seems, we don't talk about it a lot. People don't know what bigotry means. People don't know what prejudice means, but we certainly can see the rampant bigotry of the left and the Democrat Party. We're going to see it here in a second with Stacey Abrams' response. If you're around UCLA, check it out tonight. I think we're going to stream it too at the Daily Wire. So if you don't want to come and have me get you sick, then you can come check it out on the internet. We've got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Go to dailywire.com. It's $10 a month, $100 for an annual membership. You get me. You get the Andrew Klavan Show. You get the Ben Shapiro Show. You get his questions in the mailbag. Get those in, by the way. The mailbag is going to be coming right up. You get to ask questions backstage. You get Another Kingdom. You get everything. And you get this. I got to tell you, when I'm feeling a little under the weather, as I currently am, some people drink a hot toddy. Some people take cough medicine. Some people, no. You know what I do? I just open up my leftist tears. Oh, look at that steam. Do you see that? Oh, I'm just getting the steam from the leftist tears, and I feel as though I could sing an opera now. I feel it's really clear. It makes me feel so much healthier. Go over to dailywire.com. We'll be right back with a lot more.